Arun is our great hope within the State Department of Transportation because once, remember, it was a highway department. We have our ups and downs on where the different influences are, but he's done a great job at keeping us on track, keeping us informed, and certainly moving passenger rail along. And he did graduate from the University of Wisconsin. Couple degrees, but the important role he's played is 15 years now. God, right? Working for WisARP with passenger rail involvement since 2006. And currently he's in the railroads and harbor section, including managing our contract with Amtrak for HIawatha, policy planning, and he also serves several national committees for WisARP, including Next Generation Equipment Committee, States Amtrak Intercity Passenger Rail Committee, States Passenger Rail Coalition, and he worked on the Midwest Regional Rail Initiative. So let's welcome Arun.
Thank you very much. Thanks again for having me. How am I going to go after Derek? I can't compete with his majestic voice and turn of the phrase.
Yes, you can.
So I will get started here. I'm going to talk about current routes and expansion projects, the Amtrak built the TCMC, the HIawatha turnaround trips, also our Milwaukee Airport Rail Station project that we have going on now. HIawatha Service, as Derek mentioned, all-time record high ridership we had in calendar year 2018 of 858,000 passengers. That's a 3.6% increase over the previous year. Over 94% on-time performance. 75% of the costs are recovered by ticket revenues. One of the best performing routes in the country. And there's increasing demand and capacity issues, as we all know. There's crowding on the trains, almost peak trains, Amtrak has been very helpful in opening the old Metro lounge for the multi-ride ticket holders to be channeled through, so there's less crowding in Union Station. That's a new development, and it was a very good innovation on Amtrak's part on using an underutilized space to address an issue that we're having.
But we tell them we renamed it?
Oh, no, yes.
Well, we renamed it the HIawatha Lounge.
The HIawatha Lounge.
Oh, wow. Cool.
We have standees on these peak trains, and so we're looking to address those issues. Ultimately, we'll need to increase frequencies, but some equipment updates related to HIawatha Service and all of the Midwest state-supported routes. Amtrak is completing, and it's funded by the states and Amtrak jointly, a refresh of the existing Horizon coaches that are being used. And like that top photo there, Amtrak already has completed a refresh on the Amfleet equipment, and a similar refresh is underway right now as we speak on the Horizon coaches that are used on the HIawatha and other Midwest routes. Big improvement. If anybody's ever seen the refreshed HIawatha or Amfleet coaches, it's a huge improvement. But that's kind of a temporary fix because there are new Siemens coaches being manufactured right now that are coming to the Midwest for the Midwest state-supported routes that will be delivered between 2020 and 2022. The HIawatha service will be equipped with 6 of those coaches. One of the HIawatha concepts will be equipped. That is thanks to a federal grant to the states to purchase state-owned equipment. That was an ARA stimulus funding grant, 100% federal funds. WisARP has also submitted a grant application last month to add another 6 coaches and 3 cab coach cars to fully equip the HIawatha service and increase the capacity of the HIawatha service with this new equipment. And as you all know, we're continuing to work on the HIawatha increase in turnaround trips. The environmental assessment is being wrapped up right now, and we're working on addressing comments on the EA, and as Derek mentioned, doing some more simulation modeling, et cetera, to try and address the issues in places like Glenview. And that should be wrapped up very soon. We'll get that into the Federal Railroad Administration. And then the project is eligible for final design and construction grant funding, similar to the TCMC. So the next steps would be to secure state and other funding matches and apply for a federal grant for final design and construction. There is significant opposition in Glenview. Opposition is mostly to freight trains and a extended connection track between the CP and the UP, because all now traverse a short connection track between the CP and the UP to get to the CP's Bensonville yard in Glenview. That connection happens in Glenview. One of the projects, 8 infrastructure projects that are needed to increase capacity on the railroad so that we can add the additional trains and keep dispatching them on time, is extending that connection track so that, like a left turn lane, if a freight train has to stop to wait for a signal to get onto the UP, they can do that on this connection track and not block any hangover onto either main line, either the CP or UP main line, and cause even more congestion. So by doing this is not about holding trains, this is not about stopping trains, this is about improving the fluidity of trains on the main line, both main lines, and which will in turn reduce the instances of where freight trains do have to stop there briefly. So it's like a left turn lane, and the connection track is adjacent currently to some neighborhoods. The extended connection track would be on the existing UP right-of-way, but the neighborhoods adjoining there and the City of Glenview are 100% opposed to any improvements at that area. So we've done additional work, and we're wrapping up the additional ongoing work to try and address those issues. If there's any improvement there at all, the opposition will still be there. They've hired lobbyists, attorneys, and everything. So that opposition will be there if there are any improvements remaining in that area. But hopefully we can address a lot of the issues and move on. I already talked about the Amtrak Midwest Initiative, so I'll skip over that.
But it had the number. How many connections?
But that box there is kind of an example of what we want to try and promote and market here, because Milwaukee to St. Louis right now we have improved connections, as I mentioned, with improved schedules. We want to promote, twice daily. You can go to Milwaukee to St. Louis. A lot of people in Milwaukee, a lot of users of the HIawatha Service don't even think that way. But that is an opportunity of improved connections to Milwaukee, St. Louis, and Milwaukee, Detroit 3 times daily. So there's really a lot of opportunities provided by these state-supported routes in the Midwest. The other issue that we are looking into and working on right now is the Green Bay Fox Cities I-41 really public transportation options issue. Greyhound pulled out of that corridor last year, so that means at least between the Appleton Fox Cities area, Oshkosh, Fond du Lac, Milwaukee, and Chicago, there's only one round trip public transportation option per day, and we have almost 600,000 population between just Fond du Lac and Green Bay, and there's only one round trip per day option to Milwaukee and Chicago. Is that really supporting economic development and mobility on that key I-41 corridor? We don't think so. So we're looking at options to try and address that issue. One of them was going to Amtrak and saying, what about doing a different kind of thing, at least different for Wisconsin, and having an Amtrak Thruway bus, similar to what is Amtrak operated, Thruway bus, similar to what's done in California, the California Thruway bus service, and in North Carolina, where you have Amtrak branded buses, higher end buses, contracted through our Amtrak contract to go along I-41 at least twice, 2 additional round trips daily, serving all those communities and having guaranteed tight connections with the Hiawatha trains to Chicago, and being designed to allow people to be able to do a same-day business trip to Chicago with somebody in Appleton, for example. Can leave it around 6 a.m., get to Chicago at 9:30, do their business, come back on the 508 train, getting back home by about 9. And so we are in negotiations with Amtrak right now to implement this service. I was hoping to have something a little more definitive, but we're still in talks, so nothing's certain yet, but this is something that is being worked on, and hopefully we'll have some news on that soon. Those buses would also extend to the airport as well, so it'd be sort of like a very limited airport express. So the big thing on everybody's mind, of course, is the Wisconsin budget 2020 to 2022, and this is really key for these passenger rail improvements. The governor obviously released the budget proposal in February, and that included a continuation, no change to the rail appropriation, which is what we use for the Hiawatha operating support. So that's good. That was continued. We also used that for studies and grants. But it also included a proposed increase in bonding authority by $45 million for passenger rail improvements. So that can address matching funds, what we talked about previously, for these projects. The legislature is going to start working on developing its own budget, or taking the governor's budget and making changes to it. They're probably developing it from scratch, my understanding. In, I believe, April, this month, or next month. So we'll have to see, that number would obviously have to be in the legislature's budget for it to be a real opportunity. The issue again is that we have 2 passenger rail improvement projects that are ready for grant for final design, construction, and implementation, and that's the Hiawatha 10 round trips and the TCMC. State matching funds in the budget for both Wisconsin and Minnesota are needed before we can apply for federal grants. We can't apply for federal grants to get any of this done without matching funds in the budget. So that would mean, if we're relying on this biennial budget cycle in Wisconsin, if the funds don't get in, then it'll be another 2 years, and then we can, take a look at getting the funds in 2 years. But the budget process is going on now, and really, and to clarify for the TCMC, that environmental clearance, we have money in current budgets to finish it up and be ready to apply for this final design and construction. So that project is ready, and but however, with the caveat that matching funds would be needed. You can't apply for anything without it. So one of the 8 projects for the Hiawatha increase to 10 round trips is building a second platform at the Milwaukee Airport Rail Station. Hundreds of people use that per day. It's a busy station. So that freight trains can go on either track and passenger trains can go on either track that will increase capacity and reliability. It's needed for 10 round trips increase, but it's also needed now to improve ADA access, improve reliability, etc. So we applied for a grant, and we will be awarded that grant. We found out we were selected. So very good news there. We're working with the FRA now on the grant award, and final design and construction of that major station improvement will get kicked off later this year. That includes a new platform on the West main track. It includes a new elevator towers with up and over access to that platform with an enclosed bridge. Don't think Sturtevant so much as Dearborn, Michigan, or Troy, Michigan. This is an airport station with a lot of people and a lot of luggage and a lot going through it, and so it does have to be built thinking about the future and at a higher level. So HVAC, sealed elevator tower and bridge with large elevators, et cetera, to meet the loads and demands. So that project, that's an exciting project, and that is getting started. That's been awarded, so now I can open it up for